This is so much more fun than an M3. All right, ready? Yep. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're in the 2019 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. Joined by my friend Patrick, best friend for many years.
Yep.
My first ever car review was with you and your Mustang.
Yep.
That video was mad awkward.
Yeah,
like if you go back and watch it, it's so fucking awkward. I don't know why. This is my favorite like sports sedan, performance sedan on the market. I much prefer it over the M3, any AMG models, Audi RS models. I want one for myself at some point. It's very underrated and also rare. You don't ever see these. Ferrari derived V6, Misano blue, one of the best colors for the car. Yellow calipers, black wheels, green and white stitching.
The best colors are definitely the blue or the green for sure.
We're gonna go ahead and take it out for a drive. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. If you'd like to see all my future supercar content, including plenty of car reviews to come. And I will say this is the 2019, so this is right before like the sort of 2020 update that they did, which, I mean, power-wise, it's the same, but they just changed a few things, like the interior is a little bit different. Trimming, I think certain reliability issues were fixed, but I mean, this car's fine.
20 minutes later, it's like broken down.
Yeah, let's go for a drive. This is actually a very nostalgic road for me. I mean, if you go back to my old car reviews from 6+ years ago, I used to do all my reviews, or a lot of my reviews, on this road. Starting off, we have a 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 derived from the Ferrari California T. They say it's just the Cali T motor with 2 cylinders chopped off. I don't know how accurate that is, but it's very similar nonetheless. So you get 505 horsepower, and it's a very Ferrari-like characteristics, like handling, steering, throttle response. God, the steering is absurdly tight in this car. We're not even in race mode. 0 to 60 happens in 3.7 seconds. Top speed is 190 miles an hour. Those are big numbers. Like, you know, like 190 is fucking moving. Revs to 6,500 RPM, so it's not a super high revving car. I guess it'd be nice if it revved up a little more, I suppose, because, you know, it ends kind of quickly. Ooh.
That was a big pop.
Look out for NPCs.
Look out for small children.
Ooh, it'll pop on the upshifts, like even just in your normal dynamic mode. So you do have your DNA settings here. You have your all-weather mode, boring. Your normal mode, natural mode, that's just standard driving, boring. And then you have dynamic, like your sport mode essentially, which of course just tightens everything up a little bit. And then if you put it far over to the right into race mode, sharper throttle response, steering's tightened up, suspension is noticeably stiffer. Traction control and driver aids are turned off. So you got to keep that in mind. And the exhaust valves are opened up a little bit, which is also nice. Can't do it separately unless you get the 2020 and newer models. That was one of the changes, that you could do it separately.
Right.
I mean, it's not that big a deal. I mean, we've been driving around in race mode for 2 days straight and and no issues. Brakes, this has like the standard brakes. You can option them with ceramics. I mean, there's not really a need unless you're tracking the car. One of the guys who helped engineer the 458 Speziale was involved in this car's upbringing, and it shows. Just performance-wise, I mean, it is absurd how similar it behaves to like a 458. Quickest steering rack of any car in its class. Throttle response is immediate. It doesn't feel turbocharged at all, and it sounds nice.
Whoa,
that was a juicy short. Compared to the M3, this is so much more just driver focused, and I just feel like it's just a more fun car to me. It's got more personality. It's just, I don't know, it sounds very spoiled to say, but I just feel like it just felt boring to me, like just completely soulless. And that's most cars nowadays, to be honest, unfortunately. The M3, I mean, it's a great car. I mean, you could argue it might be like a better car overall in terms of just like build quality maybe. I mean, BMW's pretty solid. This is a very nice interior though, I do think. I actually prefer this interior. I like the kind of one piece, like everything flows and blends in nice. There's no like screen iPad just sticking out. That's gonna look dated in 3 years. Harman Kardon. It has a nice sound system. This does have an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. One of the best transmissions in the industry. It's used by a lot of cars. And I mean, I'd say it's just as quick as a dual clutch. Like it's really punchy. And you get a nice little jolt on upshifts, which I always appreciate in cars. I don't like when cars shift way too smoothly and it's just uneventful. Visibility out the front, I mean, it's a sedan. It's a normal, I will say, this placement here, I mean, if you all seen the Jeremy Clarkson review, it is a little odd. But I mean, it's not that big a deal. You know,
It's not as bad as he makes it out to be getting it.
No, he exaggerates. You know, if you're 900 pounds, then I understand why it's probably horrible, but I'm not. So we slap this into race mode real quick. You'll notice it does get really bumpy. Steering's even firmer. Do you have shift lights as well on the front screen, which is helpful? Do you have a carbon fiber roof, carbon fiber hood? It feels extremely light, partially because of the light steering. Helps minimize the weight, but it's not that heavy to begin with. And like I said, you never see these. I mean, I'll see Giulias every day, the Stelvios, but you rarely see that little clover on the side. And when you do, you're like, I mean, I kind of freak out. And it's kind of like the enthusiast choice. You know, it's like if you have a Quadrifoglio, you're probably a car guy. You know, like no average person is just gonna have a quad. I mean, it's bouncy, like you're fucking.
It is.
But fix that. You can put that in bumpy road mode. That'll soften up the suspension a little bit. In the standard driving settings, that will get softer. In race mode, it won't soften it completely. Like here, you can't have like the comfort suspension setting in race. It's gonna pull here. It's not, you know, super loud from the inside. From the outside, it's not overly loud either, but it's like it's a nice noise.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good sounding V6. Sounds a lot better than the M3, which just sounds like air. Ooh, you gotta time it. I've noticed that there's a certain RPM range and a certain throttle that you give it that it'll like do that.
Wow.
So if you give it like maybe half throttle,
3,000-4,000,
and like 4,500. The back end will get a little, you know, it'll kick out a little bit. It's very manageable, though it's not scary at all. I mean, don't do it in the rain. So it'll be catastrophic. Let's probably take that off. Why is that still on there?
I don't know. I just noticed that.
But just like the slightest turn, this truck's fucking moving.
That's hauling, dude.
The slightest turn in, like it's super darty. It is very Ferrari-esque. I mean, I'll admit, you know, yesterday when I went to go check how many our range, you know, if you're not careful, it'll sneak up on you because it's so quick, the steering, that if you sneeze, you might hit that biker right there. Like, it's just, you gotta be kind of careful. It's tight. Like, don't drive in race mode like half asleep. Like, be on it, especially after a night out of drinking like last night. We were up until 7 last night. We're just low-key dead inside. Another thing I absolutely love, more cars need to take notes, is these big like metal paddles on the column. Very Maserati-esque. Like they feel nice, like they're very premium. Like the Audi R8 paddles feel like ass. They're cheap. A lot of cars will cheapen out on the paddles. I don't understand because that's what you're touching a lot. In here, everything's pretty straightforward. It's very BMW-esque, Apple CarPlay.
Yeah, very intuitive, easy to use. I would say it's even easier to use than the BMW. It's more, you know, user-friendly, I would say.
Yeah, and for being an Italian car, it's not that quirky. You can get these carbon bucket seats, which are probably the sickest race seats in the industry, in my opinion. Just full exposed carbon in the back. There's not that many on the market. Like, for, say, the 17s and 18s that I want to buy, there's like 12 out there, and half of them are salvage title, half of them are 80,000 miles, and half of them are black. So people aren't selling them. Like, people know what they have with this car.
Yeah.
Like, people who have bought these, like, they know how special it is. They're not selling them. They're like, this is something different.
BMW M3s are everywhere. You know, you see them all the time. Whereas, you know, when you have this, it's just as rare as, you know, like having a supercar because no one else has them really.
And styling wise, I think it's a very handsome car. Quad exhaust, they're slightly staggered. which I like a lot. It squats nice, but it's not like a huge difference compared to the standard Giulia. Like, it's not like that more aggressive looking. It's like a carbon rear little spoiler, carbon like front splitter, side skirts in carbon. Just a little bit more stance to it.
The front lip go down at like after 60 miles an hour.
It does. I think this was the only car in its class to have like an active front aero. I mean, starting price on these is like 80. I guess normally with options they're around $80,000. I think the new ones are like in the 90s, which is, you know, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
but
it's up there.
That's up there. These, like the used market, you got this for like in the 50s, like low 50s.
50s.
You can get them for like high 30s, like a 17, 18. That's one that I would want. Ooh.
That's good.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Pat runs a big YouTube channel called Dr. No Sleep, and then a podcast for that as well on Spotify. If you're into animated horror stories or anything horror related, definitely a lot of good content.